All right, ready to dive deep into the world of chemical mixers. Today, we're going to help you nail that interview and get you mixing your way to a fulfilling career.
We're going beyond the basics here, really uncover what those interviewers are looking for and give you the tools to stand out.
We've got a fantastic resource from RoleCatcher to help us along the way.
Oh yeah, they've got those detailed career guides and sample interview questions, even AI tools to help tailor your application.
Like having a career coach in your pocket.
Exactly.
So let's jump right into it. Interview prep.
That's good.
RoleCatcher has provided 10 common chemical mixer interview questions, and we're going to break down each one.
All right.
Okay, first up, a question that often trips people up. Can you explain your experience operating soap towers? Now, we might be thinking, soap towers, what are those?
Yeah, it does sound a bit like something out of a Dr. Seuss book, doesn't it?
Right.
But in the chemical mixing world, soap towers are these specialized pieces of equipment they use to mix and blend large batches of chemicals.
Okay.
They're crucial for producing consistent, high-quality products, particularly in industries like personal care and cleaning products.
So when an interviewer asks us about your experience with them, they're really trying to gauge your hands-on knowledge of this equipment.
Exactly. They want to know if you've actually walked the walk, not just talked the talk.
So how should our listeners approach this question?
Be specific. Don't just say, oh yeah, I've worked with soap towers. Dive into those details. Talk about the types of soap towers you've operated. Were they batch or continuous? What was their capacity? Have you ever had to troubleshoot any issues with them?
That's where those real-world examples really come in handy.
Absolutely. A great answer might sound something like this. I have 3 years of experience operating both batch and continuous soap towers, with capacities ranging from 500 to 1,000 gallons. I'm familiar with the intricacies of each system and have a proven track record of troubleshooting common issues like temperature fluctuations and feed line blockages.
Wow, that's a powerful answer. You've showcased your experience, technical knowledge, and even your problem-solving skills all in one go.
And that's exactly what interviewers are looking for. Now imagine they follow up with this. Can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a complex issue with a soap tower?
Oh, this is where the pressure's on.
It is, but don't worry, it's also your chance to shine. This is what we call a behavioral question, and interviewers use these to see how you think on your feet. Pick a specific incident where you faced a real challenge. Maybe the soap tower wasn't reaching the desired temperature or the mixing just wasn't consistent.
So how do you structure your response?
Start by clearly outlining the problem. You know what were the symptoms, what were the potential causes you considered, then walk them through your troubleshooting process. Did you consult manuals? Did you collaborate with your colleagues? Finally, describe the solution you implemented and the positive outcome you achieved.
Okay, so for example, you could say, once we were producing a batch of liquid soap and the viscosity was way off. I systematically checked each component, from the temperature gauges to the mixing blades. Eventually, I discovered a faulty pressure sensor which was causing inconsistent flow rates. I replaced the sensor, recalibrated the system, and voila, the viscosity returned to normal, saved the entire batch.
Exactly. You've demonstrated your analytical skills, your ability to work under pressure, and your commitment to quality control.
That's gold. Okay, let's move on to another question that's all about safety. How do you ensure the safety of yourself and others while operating soap towers?
This one's super important, and it's not just about reciting safety regulations. The interviewer wants to see that safety is truly ingrained in your approach to work.
So how do you convey that?
Specificity is key.
Sure.
Talk about your routine safety checks, your meticulous use of PPE, your knowledge of hazmat procedures. You can even mention any additional safety measures you've implemented beyond the standard protocols.
Right. Don't just say you follow the rules. Show them how those rules are woven into every action you take.
Yeah, exactly. For example, you could say, before even approaching the soap tower, I always do a thorough visual inspection. I check for any leaks, spills, or damaged equipment. Then I meticulously don my PPE, including gloves, goggles, a respirator, and a chemical-resistant suit. I double-check all safety interlocks and make sure my colleagues are at a safe distance before initiating any operations. Throughout the process, I'm constantly monitoring for any signs of trouble and prioritizing the well-being of myself and my team above all else.
Wow, that's impressive. Safety is not just a checklist for you, it's a mindset.
Exactly. That's the kind of impression you want to leave on your interviewer. Now, this might lead to a follow-up question like, can you describe a situation where you went above and beyond to ensure safety in the workplace?
Ooh, I like this one. A chance to really showcase your commitment to safety.
Think of a time when you identified a potential hazard, implemented a new safety measure, or even intervened to prevent an accident.
It doesn't have to be dramatic, right?
It doesn't. It just needs to demonstrate your proactive approach.
Maybe you noticed a frayed electrical cord near the soap tower and you reported it immediately.
Yeah, or maybe you implemented a color-coded labeling system for chemical containers to prevent any accidental mixing.
Those are great examples of going above and beyond. They show that you're not just following rules, you're actively creating a safer work environment.
All right.
Now let's shift gears to a question that's all about your technical expertise. Can you describe your experience with troubleshooting and repairing soap towers?
Ah, the moment of truth. This is where you prove you're not just a button pusher, but a problem solver.
Exactly. Interviewers want to know that you can handle those inevitable hiccups that come with operating complex equipment.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you approach this one?
Be specific. Don't just say, oh, I'm good at fixing things. Think of specific instances where you diagnosed and resolved issues with the soap tower.
So maybe there was a clog in the feed line, a malfunctioning pump, or a faulty sensor. Walk them through your process. How did you identify the problem? What steps did you take to fix it?
And this is where you can really showcase your knowledge of the equipment's inner workings.
For example, you could say, one time the soap tower was producing inconsistent batches. The pH level was fluctuating wildly. I checked the chemical feed lines, the mixing blades, and even the temperature gauges. Eventually, I discovered a worn-out seal in the mixing vessel, which was allowing air to enter the mixture and disrupt the pH balance. I replaced the seal, recalibrated the system, and restored the consistency of the batches.
Wow, that's a fantastic example. You've clearly demonstrated your technical knowledge, troubleshooting skills, and your attention to detail.
Now imagine the interviewer follows up with this. Have you ever had to implement a process improvement in soap tower operations?
This is a great opportunity to highlight your initiative and your ability to think beyond just fixing those immediate problems.
Being proactive and constantly seeking ways to optimize the process.
Think of a time when you identified a bottleneck, a safety hazard, or even just a clunky procedure. Describe the issue, your proposed solution, how you implemented it, and the positive impact it had on the operation.
Maybe you streamlined the cleaning process, reducing downtime and improving efficiency.
Or you devised a new safety protocol that minimized the risk of chemical spills.
These are great examples of how you can take ownership and drive positive change in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's tackle another question, all about quality control. How do you ensure that the soap produced from the tower meets established standards?
Quality control.
The lifeblood of any manufacturing process.
And this is where your meticulous attention to detail really shines. Interviewers want to know that you understand the importance of consistency, accuracy, and sticking to those specifications.
Yeah, they do.
So what are some key points to highlight?
Talk about your knowledge of quality control procedures, your experience with testing and sampling, your ability to identify and correct deviations. So it's not just about following a checklist. It's about understanding the why behind each step.
Yeah, exactly. For example, you could say, I'm meticulous about following the established quality control protocols. I regularly collect samples from the soap tower at various stages of the mixing process and analyze them for viscosity, pH level, color, and fragrance. If I detect any deviations from the standard, I immediately adjust the process parameters, whether it's the mixing time, temperature, or ingredient ratios. I'm also proactive in identifying potential sources of contamination and implementing preventative measures.
That shows a deep understanding of the entire quality control process. It's clear that you're not just following orders, but actively safeguarding the quality of the final product.
Exactly.
Now let's say they follow up with, can you give me an example of a time when you had to make a difficult decision regarding quality control?
This is where things get interesting. It's about judgment, your integrity, and your commitment to excellence.
So think of a time when you had to reject a batch, delay production, or even challenge a supervisor's decision because of quality concerns.
Yeah, maybe you discovered a minor flaw in a batch that didn't quite meet those strict quality standards, even though it meant delaying a shipment.
Or maybe you identified a potential safety hazard in the production process and had to halt operations despite the pressure to meet a deadline.
These are tough calls, but they demonstrate your unwavering commitment to quality and safety.
Okay, let's move on to a question that's often overlooked but incredibly important. Can you explain your experience with record keeping and documentation related to soap tower operations?
Documentation, not the most glamorous part of the job, but it's absolutely crucial.
And interviewers want to see that you understand its importance. They want to know that you're organized, meticulous, and able to maintain accurate records.
Yeah.
So what should you emphasize in your answer?
Talk about your experience with logging operational data, maintaining batch records, documenting maintenance procedures, and filing incident reports.
So it's about creating a clear, auditable trail of everything that happens in the soap tower operation.
Exactly. For instance, you could say, I'm a stickler for accurate documentation. I meticulously record all operational data, including batch numbers, ingredient quantities, mixing times, temperatures, pressure readings, and quality control results. I use a digital logbook to ensure accuracy and traceability. I also maintain detailed maintenance logs documenting all repairs, calibrations, and preventative maintenance activities.
That's impressive. It shows you understand the importance of transparency and accountability in a chemical mixing environment.
Exactly.
Now imagine the interviewer follows up with, have you ever had to use your documentation to resolve a dispute or investigate an incident?
This is where your meticulous record keeping can really pay off.
Right.
Think of a time when your documentation helped clarify a situation, identify the root cause of a problem, or even prevent a potential legal issue.
So maybe there was a discrepancy in a batch record that you were able to clarify thanks to your detailed notes.
Or an incident occurred, and your thorough documentation helped reconstruct the events and identify the necessary corrective actions.
These examples highlight the critical role documentation plays in maintaining safety, quality, and accountability.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's explore a question that delves into your interpersonal skills. Can you explain your experience with training and mentoring new soap tower operators?
The mentor role. It's all about sharing your expertise, nurturing the next generation of mixers, and building a strong team.
And even if you haven't held a formal training position, you've likely helped colleagues or new hires learn the ropes.
Yeah, for sure.
So what should you highlight in your response?
Focus on your approach to training and mentoring. Do you prefer one-on-one guidance? Do you create training materials? Do you conduct group demonstrations?
Right. It's about showcasing your ability to communicate complex information in a clear, concise, and engaging way.
Exactly. For example, you could say, I believe in a hands-on approach to training. I start by explaining the theory behind soap tower operations. Then I demonstrate each step of the process, allowing the trainee to shadow me and ask questions. I encourage them to practice under my supervision, providing feedback and guidance along the way. I also create checklists and cheat sheets to help them remember key procedures and safety protocols.
That's a comprehensive approach. You've covered both the theoretical and practical aspects of training, ensuring the trainee gains a deep understanding of the process.
Absolutely.
Now, let's say the interviewer follows up with, can you tell me about a time when you had to adapt your training style to a specific individual's needs?
This is a great opportunity to demonstrate your flexibility and your ability to tailor your approach to different learning styles.
So maybe you had a trainee who was very visual and needed lots of diagrams and demonstrations.
Or you had a trainee who learns best by doing and needed more hands-on practice.
Being able to adjust your training style to meet the individual's needs shows that you're a dedicated and effective mentor.
Now let's tackle a question that assesses your commitment to continuous learning. How do you stay up to date on the latest developments and trends in soap tower operations?
The never-ending quest for knowledge. In a field like chemical mixing, technology and best practices are constantly evolving.
Absolutely. Interviewers want to see that you're not just content with the status quo, but you're proactive in seeking out new information and expanding your skill set.
So how do you demonstrate your dedication to staying current?
Be specific. Talk about your go-to resources. Do you attend industry conferences? Do you subscribe to trade publications? Do you participate in online forums or webinars?
Right. It's about showcasing your hunger for knowledge and your commitment to professional growth.
Exactly. For instance, you could say, I'm an avid reader of industry journals like Chemical Processing and Process Safety Progress. I also attend the annual American Institute of Chemical Engineers, that's AICE, conference to stay abreast of the latest technologies and best practices. I'm also active in online forums where I can exchange knowledge with other professionals in the field.
That's impressive. You're clearly demonstrating that you're not just keeping up with the industry, you're actively seeking out new knowledge and pushing the boundaries of your expertise.
No, that's the way to do it.
Now, let's imagine the interviewer follows up with, can you tell me about a specific innovation or trend in soap tower operations that you've recently learned about and how you plan to incorporate it into your work?
This is where you can really shine, connecting that thirst for knowledge to real-world applications.
Exactly. So think of a recent advancement in soap tower technology, a new safety protocol, or even a shift in industry standards. Explain how this new knowledge has impacted your understanding of the field and how you plan to apply it to improve your work processes.
Maybe you've learned about a new type of sensor technology that can improve process monitoring and safety.
Or perhaps you've discovered a new cleaning method that reduces chemical waste and improves environmental sustainability.
By showcasing your ability to connect the dots between theory and practice, you're demonstrating that you're a forward-thinking and adaptable professional.
Okay, one final question that often throws people off. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision in soap tower operations?
This one's all about judgment, problem-solving skills, and your ability to make those tough calls under pressure.
It's not about having all the answers, but demonstrating your thought process and your ability to weigh different factors before making a decision.
Right.
So how do you tackle this one?
Think of a specific situation where you faced a dilemma. Maybe there was a production delay, a safety concern, or a conflict with a colleague. Describe the situation, the options you considered, the factors you weighed, and the rationale behind your final decision.
So, for example, you could say, once we were facing a tight deadline to deliver a large batch of soap. We were running behind schedule due to a minor equipment malfunction. We had two options: push the team to work overtime and risk potential errors, or delay the shipment and risk disappointing the client. I weighed the pros and cons of each option, considering the potential impact on quality, safety, and client satisfaction. Ultimately, I decided to delay the shipment, prioritizing quality and safety over speed. I communicated the decision to the client, explaining the situation transparently, and offered a revised delivery timeline. The client appreciated our commitment to quality and agreed to the new schedule.
That's a great example of how to handle a difficult decision. You've shown your ability to assess the situation, weigh the options, and make a sound judgment call.
And that wraps up our deep dive into those tough chemical mixer interview questions.
But don't forget, RoleCatcher has some amazing AI tools that can help you tailor your answers and get personalized feedback for specific job roles.
We'll dive into those tools a bit later. For now, let's shift gears and explore the different career stages you can expect in the world of chemical mixing.
Yeah, from assistant to supervisor, there's a clear path for growth and advancement. And understanding those stages can give you a real edge in your interview. So let's break down this career path a little bit. You might start as a chemical mixer assistant, where you're really focused on absorbing everything like a sponge.
Lots of hands-on learning, shadowing those experienced mixers, making sure the work area is spotless, and of course, triple-checking those batch ticket specs.
And it's not just about being a good follower. Even at this stage, you can demonstrate initiative. Think about that interview question we discussed earlier. Can you describe a situation where you went above and beyond to ensure safety in the workplace?
Yeah, even as an assistant, you can spot potential hazards, suggest improvements to protocols, or even come up with a more efficient way to organize materials.
That kind of proactive mindset will definitely make you stand out, even early in your career. Now, as you progress to a chemical mixer operator, you're taking on more responsibility. You're independently operating and maintaining equipment, ensuring those chemical products meet those strict quality and safety standards.
So it sounds like problem solving becomes even more crucial here.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about following instructions anymore, but understanding the why behind each step and being able to troubleshoot when things go wrong.
And that perfectly ties into another interview question we covered. Can you describe your experience with troubleshooting and repairing soap towers?
Right. As an operator, you need to have a deep understanding of the equipment and the process. You need to be able to diagnose problems, identify potential solutions, and implement them safely and effectively.
Remember those examples we discussed? A clogged feed line, a faulty sensor, or a temperature fluctuation.
Right.
Those are all real-world challenges that a chemical mixer operator needs to be able to handle.
And don't forget about documentation. Even as you're troubleshooting, it's crucial to keep detailed records of everything you do. That documentation can be invaluable for identifying patterns, preventing future problems, and demonstrating your meticulous approach to work.
Speaking of documentation, that reminds me of another interview question. Can you explain your experience with record keeping and documentation related to soap tower operations?
That one's all about organization, attention to detail, and commitment to accuracy.
Exactly. As an operator, you're responsible for maintaining accurate logs of everything from batch numbers and ingredient quantities to mixing times and quality control results. Your documentation needs to be clear, concise, easy to understand by anyone who might need to access it.
Like creating a story of each batch from start to finish, And that story needs to be reliable and trustworthy.
Now imagine you've mastered the operator role and are ready for the next step. That's where the senior chemical mixer comes in.
This is where things get really interesting. Not only are you a mixing pro, but you're also taking on a leadership role, mentoring junior mixers, and even contributing to process improvements and new product development.
It's less about following instructions and more about optimizing the entire process.
And that ties into another one of those interview questions. Have you ever had to implement a process improvement in soap tower operations?
As a senior mixer, you're expected to be proactive, identifying bottlenecks, inefficiencies, or potential safety hazards, and then coming up with creative solutions.
Maybe you've noticed the cleaning process takes too long, or there's a recurring problem with a particular piece of equipment.
Right.
This is your chance to show that you're not just a doer, you're a thinker.
And it's not just about coming up with ideas, but being able to implement those ideas effectively, working collaboratively with your team, and measuring the positive impact of your improvements.
So it sounds like a senior chemical mixer needs a strong blend of technical skills, leadership qualities, and a passion for continuous improvement.
Absolutely. And of course, strong communication skills are essential for training and mentoring those junior mixers.
Speaking of training, that reminds me of another interview question. Can you explain your experience with training and mentoring new soap tower operators?
This is your chance to showcase your ability to share your knowledge, guide others, and foster a positive learning environment.
Remember, it's not just about telling people what to do, but understanding their learning styles, providing clear explanations, offering hands-on demonstrations, and creating a supportive environment where people feel comfortable asking questions.
And as a senior mixer, you might even find yourself involved in developing or revising training materials, ensuring that the knowledge is passed down effectively to the next generation.
So you've got those hands-on skills, leadership qualities, a passion for innovation, and you're a mentor extraordinaire. Where do you go from there?
Well, that's where the top of the ladder comes in. The chemical mixing supervisor.
The conductor of the orchestra, making sure the entire operation runs smoothly, efficiently, and safely.
They manage the team, set production standards, analyze data to identify areas for improvement, and ensure compliance with all safety and quality regulations.
And they need to be able to make those tough decisions like the one we discussed earlier. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision in soap tower operations?
As a supervisor, those decisions might involve balancing production deadlines with safety concerns, resolving conflicts between team members, or even making difficult calls about resource allocation.
It sounds like a challenging but incredibly rewarding role for someone who's passionate about the chemical mixing process and has a strong drive to lead and inspire a team.
And don't forget, throughout this entire career journey, it's important to stay up to date on the latest developments and trends in soap tower operations. Remember that interview question. How do you stay up to date on the latest developments and trends in soap tower operations?
Right. That's where continuous learning comes in. Reading industry journals, attending conferences, participating in online forums. It's all about staying ahead of the curve and bringing new ideas to the table.
And that's something that will impress interviewers at every stage of your career.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the entry-level assistant to the top dog supervisor. But let's not forget about the secret weapon that can help you ace those interviews. RoleCatcher's AI tools.
Right. We've talked about how to approach those tricky interview questions, but RoleCatcher takes it a step further by helping you tailor your answers and get personalized feedback.
So how does this AI magic actually work?
Well, RoleCatcher's AI analyzes job descriptions and pulls out those keywords and skills that hiring managers are really looking for.
You're not just guessing what they want to hear. You're getting intel straight from the source.
Exactly. Then when you use their CV and resume builder, the AI suggests ways to incorporate those keywords into your application, making sure you're really speaking their language.
That's brilliant, like having a secret decoder ring for job applications.
And it gets even cooler. Their interview practice tool lets you record your answers to those common questions. Then the AI analyzes your responses, giving you feedback on clarity, content, and even your tone of voice.
Whoa, it's like having a virtual mock interview with an expert.
Exactly. It can point out if you're being too vague, or if you need to provide more specific examples, or even if you're using too much jargon.
That's incredibly valuable, especially for a field like chemical mixing where you need to balance that technical expertise with clear communication.
Right. You want to showcase your knowledge without overwhelming the interviewer with too many technical terms.
So RoleCatcher's AI is like a personalized coach, helping you put your best foot forward and present yourself as the ideal candidate.
It's all about empowering you to succeed.
So there you have it. We've explored the ins and outs of the chemical mixer role, from those tricky interview questions to the exciting career path ahead.
And we've seen how RoleCatcher's resources, especially those AI tools, can give you a serious advantage in landing that dream job.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. As you prepare for those interviews, think about the bigger picture.
Yeah. What impact do you want to make in the chemical mixing world? What kind of products or industries are you most passionate about?
Maybe you're drawn to the fast-paced world of pharmaceuticals. Or perhaps you're fascinated by the intricate chemistry of food production.
Or maybe you're driven by a desire to create more sustainable and eco-friendly chemical processes.
The possibilities are truly endless.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep mixing things up.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of chemical mixers. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. Until next time, keep those minds churning and those careers soaring.